next, let's talk a little bit about Jonny. The replay is up. Jonny Vance from Harmon Brothers. And again, he's not like an intern over there. He's a lead writer and creative director. And it was really interesting to learn from Jonny about what goes into the Harmon Brothers ads, right? Some really interesting stuff about how Rachel Kraft asked a great question about how they choose their projects and, and about the kind of projects they turn down. And Jonny told some hilarious stories about that's been bothering me. The one he told about this, the guy had the product that eliminates skid marks from underwear. I was like, man, that's been bothering me on several levels since he shared that story. I don't know how that becomes a problem in your life, man. Like, wow. I'm so sorry that's people anyway. And so, yeah, man, other big takeaways. I took a bunch of notes. He gave some great tips. Humor being a three-legged stool, right? You got to have it's writing, filming, and editing. That was good, right? What goes into these videos? Obviously, the writing's got to be solid. I'm sure that's like 80% of the time is on the writing, the copy, getting it right, and then you got to film it. You got to have a good couple of days of filming. You got to make sure you get all your shots. And you don't ever want to have to go back and build a set again and reshoot and try to get the lighting the same and the hair the same. And you got to get it while you're there. You got to have a good director. Jonny also co-directing the videos over there now. And then editing. Anybody who's worked with video knows, is David Power here, that editing is David Power, a great video producer, editor. My man Chris Lohr is a great editor, and man, so much happens in editing. You can make or break any piece of video in the editing bay. You can save it, you can, but if it's kind of like the marketing thing, right? It's like the list, offer, copy. A great script can't save a bad idea, and great editing can't totally salvage a horrible shoot, right? So, it's very similar. So that, I love that he talked about, again, this has been the theme of that whole why I've been so intrigued by the Harmon Brothers. They just released their university, and Daniel Harmon just did a 10-day script writing challenge. That was super cool. And, man, they're exposing their process. And Jonny said the reason they do that is because there's plenty to go around. Like, they can't help everybody. Like, so many people want to do entertaining video now. There's no way they could serve everybody. So they figure, well, let's teach other people to do it well, whether they want to do it for themselves. That's their first intention. But they're also, you got to be willing to teach your competition too. And that's part of what they're doing. But sales first, art second. Sales first, art second. I've always said that same thing about humor. I've taught a bit about using comedic formulas and stand-up comedy, formulas and principles and thinking in your ad writing. But man, if you don't get the sale first, again, like your jokes, the jokes will only make it worse, right? So humor will enhance a really solid script. Humor will worsen a wonky script, worsen a wonky script. Put that in your bullet. So good stuff, man. He recommended, by the way, if you're serious about making funny video, get a comic in the room, enlist a comedian to help you write jokes and, joke check stuff and come up with creative ideas. And he talked about crossing the line. That was really interesting, man. That was, to me, maybe the most sort of complex thing that we discussed yesterday on that training, right? Because how do you, where you set that line, it says so much about personal taste and integrity. And ultimately, the most important thing is, will it reach a big audience? Because, if you cross the line early in the video, you're going to lose most people right there. He talked about in the Lumi deodorant video. If you haven't seen it, you know, look it up on Facebook and see the however many millions of views they have and all that. LUME deodorant, and it's lumidio.com, I think is, but he talked about, it opens with a woman and it looks like she's standing in a meadow or something, but she's really on a subway, and there's an old guy sitting next to her and his face is like right in her armpit when they pan out, right? And it's hilarious. And but the original idea they had was a woman sitting in a gynecologist chair, right? And he said, man, it would just, you know, we found it, the way we shot it and thought about it, it seemed very funny, but when they ran it by test group, it was like immediately off-putting. And then of course, you know, in hindsight, you go, yeah, God, what were we thinking there? But it just goes to show the creative process, right? Like, you know, go over the top. And he says just what, you know, John Carlton's always preaching, you know, go crazy with the first draft, man. Go nuts, throw it all at the wall, unfiltered. The draft that would get you arrested if anybody read it. You know, just go crazy and then walk it back, right? But you can't spice up boring copy. So go crazy first and then walk it back and find that sweet spot. Draw the line. You got to cross it to find it, though. You can't inch up to it meekly, you know. So great training with Jonny Vance, now available in Copy Chief for replay. It'll be there in the archive. If you missed it, you're not a member, you can still join and get that training and all the other great trainings.